You delivered everything that you have, your heart, your soul, your expertise, and yet they're still asking for more. Today, we are talking about how to stop those clients from asking for more and more, and what can you do? Because it's important to your business success that you get those boundaries set easily and upfront. I'm even going to show you how to have the exact language, the exact scripts, and have something do all the work for you, even with your clients. Welcome to the Aligned Business Series. My name is Acacia Thornton. I'm the CEO, legal coach, longtime attorney, and business advisor. And here in the Aligned Business Series, we go live 3 times a week where I answer your real world Q&A live. But most importantly, I give you stories about what's going on out there in the world with other business owners. We're going to look under the hood at what other business owners are facing and dealing with, and then giving you the actual solution. We're not going to talk in theoreticals or ideas. I'm going to give you literal scripts, literal answers, everything you need to stop this and put it in its place for you and your business today. Because why? Why does all of this ultimately matter? It matters because it affects your revenue. When those clients are constantly asking for more and more, well, you're not able to say, I have other things to do, other things that pay me. You're not able to go do the things that light up your heart. And you're not able to close the door mentally, emotionally, energetically on something that you had only budgeted so much for. You budgeted so much time, so much payment for it. So this starts to affect the bottom line really, really quickly. Most business owners that I've worked with, they come when they hit the tipping points of, I'm exhausted from this. How do I get rid of this? And the truth is, as you'll see here in a bit, we don't want to wait till you're at this point. You can actually stop this before it happens. You can prevent this right up front. And what it is that your clients are doing is called scope creep. There is a scope of work, a scope of the project that you have agreed to, and your clients are slowly creeping beyond the line. And why? Because the line wasn't clearly defined, nor do they understand what happens when they cross the line. So I'm going to tell you about one of my clients. It's a consulting company, long time in business, and they take some of their off-the-shelf products but also customize them for their clients. And that's what they were doing here for this particular customer of theirs. And this customer was very happy and excited to work with one of the world's best at this particular thing. So they're paying to have customization and hand-holding for their first implementation ever. And then of course my client is like, yeah, we do this all the time. Here's how it goes, here's how it is, here's what the deliverables are. Contract signed, milestones, deadlines, everyone's on board. So my client delivers milestone 1, and their customer is like, yep, got it. Looks good. Thank you. We'll start doing our stuff with this. Move on to milestone 2. So my client starts to move on to milestone 2, and about 2/3 of the way through milestone 2, the customer comes back and is like, hey, back on milestone 1, now that we're implementing it, can we move this around? Can we do this? And then my client would be like, okay, and go and fix that, and send it back to their customer. And then a few weeks later, there'd be another ask, oh, now that the other team is using it, they need it this way. And so this started to happen every single milestone. And so by the time my client was on to milestone 3 and 4, the customer was still asking for updates to milestones 1, milestones 2, milestones 3, milestones 4. And yet the project was only supposed to take 2 months. The project had only been budgeted and charged the customer for X amount of money and time. And then that timeline was supposed to be 2 months. By the time the consulting company came to me, this project had been going on for 6 months and the end was not in sight. So what do you do here? What happens? Let's take a step back for a second. First off, I want to debunk a myth. This was not a lack of communication. Both parties communicated in fully and they had a contract. Right? The client was like, this is our first time doing this. We're hiring and paying the best because we want a little hand-holding. We want that customization. We want this to go right. And they had communicated that. And my client had communicated, this is how we do that. These are deliverables we're going to bring you. This is the timeline we work on for these things. This was all there and agreed to. So if everyone's communicated, where did things go wrong? Things went wrong when there was no boundary set as to when done is done, And we don't just mean for the project, we mean for each milestone, right? It was left open that their customer could still come back and ask for edits, revisions on the other milestones. The delivery of milestone 2 was not enough to close milestone 1. Not if it's not explicitly stated, as you'll see here in a sec. So this is what was going on, is nobody knew where done was. But then what about the charging for all of this, right? It's not that big of a deal to add a few more small requests or to even add a medium or big one. We want our clients to come back to us. You want your clients to see you as the expert and to come to you with their things, their questions, their challenges, their asks. You want that. That means they respect you. They trust you. What you don't want is for that to happen without being paid for it. So let's get into that paid part here for a second. That is really important. Again, it's called scope creep. And if you guys want to start finding the Q&A, I see some of you already in there. Go ahead and get your questions in there because I am definitely going to get to all of them. But scope creep, it says what is included, which majority of my clients in the contracts of the years have all said this is what's included. But then they don't say, here's the boundary and what happens when you cross it. What's included, where's the boundary, and what happens when you cross it. You get 2 revisions. The third or more, this is what happens. It's going to delay your project. It's going to cost more money, this and that. And so ultimately, depending on the type of business you're in, a lot of my clients have anywhere from 2 to even 7 scope creep clauses because you want one for every single type of thing your customer might ask. They might ask for add-ons. They might ask for more revisions. They might ask for more calls. They might ask for more samples, more customization, more hours of your time. Anything that they can ask for, you want to make the clear boundary. And this is why I put together, there's a playbook I put together for all of you. Let me pull it up here in a sec. The scope creep playbook. Okay, so what this playbook has is it's got scope creep clauses. I had promised you all that there's a way to get ahead of this, to prevent it before it happens. And that's by putting it into your client agreement. When it's in the client agreement, 1, it's been communicated ahead of time. 2, it's been agreed to by you and your client. So you're not being mean, you're not enforcing something later. It's already agreed to. 3, it makes your life easier. Because now you don't have to be like, okay, well, I should have said the boundary 3 asks ago, or I should have, how do I do this? I'm stressed. You simply have to remind the client it's in the contract. How much easier is that? You let the contract do the heavy lifting for you. And so the scope creep playbook does all of this for you, all of this. It gives you the exact clauses that you could copy paste right into your client agreements. And I've broken them down. I've got general service ones, consulting ones. If you're in design work, if you're in physical products, if you're coaches, I have multiple examples for every single one of those. And that way you can kind of copy paste and rework whatever works for yours. But then I also put a section, a fill in the blank section where you can create one for yourself. So if you don't already see an example that looks perfect to you, you can create one in under 2 minutes. It's literally just three fill in the blanks, and you just put these right in your agreement. And then what the playbook also does for you is it walks you through what that clause does for your business, and it gives you the script to talk to your clients about it, especially if you're already dealing with this mid-project and it's too late to get it into your contract. It already has the script in there for you. So that is the power of the scope creep playbook and why I wrote it all down. Because if I started just spewing out examples and things here, it may or may not align for your business. And I want you to have what you need the way you need it. And so this is there. And I started just today, 50% off the playbook if you use the code on the screen. But let's get back to the Q&A. Where did my notes go? Because I had one more thing I wanted. So how would the scope creep clause have helped and saved the consulting company that I was telling you about earlier? Right. So the consulting company needed to define when done was done for every single milestone and the overall project. That is called an acceptance clause. An acceptance clause says this is when done is done and no more revisions are allowed. No more asks are allowed. It gives the very clear done is done. Because if your client can ask for something else after delivery, delivery is not your done point. If they can ask for, hey, I need a replacement. Hey, I need another one. Hey, I need revisions. If your client can or possibly will come back, delivery does not equal done. You need an acceptance clause to do it. And then where you get paid for this stuff is that scope creep clause. And the scope creep says, if you go beyond what's included, this is what that is. So for the consulting company, that would have been, hey, we only allow 2 revisions per milestone. It looks like you need a little bit more customization for your team. Not a problem. Happy to help out, but that's going to be billed at the hourly rate as noted in the contract. Right? See, now there's, we're happy to help you. We're here to be here for you, but that's not quite what you paid for. And if you want that as an add-on, not a problem, can do it. So that's what a scope creep clause would have done and why this would have saved them. 1, done would have been done with the acceptance clause. But 2, okay, so a 2-month project became 6 months, but at least they would have been paid for those 4 extra months of work. Or they could have said, no, we don't have the availability. Because now the contract, by having a scope creep clause, it gives them the choice to say yes or no. It gives them the choice to add more money, right? Be charged for all of the extras. Because that's what was happening for them. The reason they had come to me is they're like, Acacia, we've had to say no to 2 clients because we don't have the bandwidth, but we're not making more money. We're literally losing money. I cannot say yes to these other clients right now because I'm still working on this project for not more money. A scope creep clause would have set the boundary. The client is unlikely to cross those boundaries because when a client sees a scope creep clause, they actually feel safer. They know what they're getting for their price. They know that they only get 2 revisions per round. And if they need more, this is what happens. That empowers them for choice. Because when you say just 2 revisions, you're not giving them a choice. You're giving them a hard wall to hit. You want to give them a choice because now that choice can mean more money to you. It also can mean more trust. You're leaving the door open for them to continue to lean into you and build this into what they need it to be, even though they maybe hadn't communicated it all up front. Oh, we need some hand holding. Didn't quite understand what that meant, did they? So that's what it is. That's the power of a scope creep clause. All right, now I see these questions coming in. There's a lot of them today. Ooh, okay, what do we got? Can I use a scope creep clause if I bill hourly? Yes, absolutely. Scope creep clauses apply no matter what your billing style is because it says, here's what the ask might be. Here's what's included, the boundary, and what happens if you go beyond it. You choose what happens if they go beyond it. You can choose, however, a flat rate. You can choose a billable hour. You can choose, well, okay, that's going to delay things by a month. Whatever is the outcome that you need it to be on the back end, absolutely yours to customize for sure. Yeah, which is one of the reasons I have them in the playbook there. Can I charge more if the client keeps asking for things, but I didn't put it in the contract? This is kind of a gray area, and it's going to do a couple things. 1, nobody likes to be told something's now billable when they didn't know that. And that's how your client's going to feel. They're going to feel that they weren't communicated with. It's one of the empowerment things of having it in your onboarding and your contract is they've been communicated with. Even if they have to be reminded, they still, oh yeah, that's right. So that's part 1 is the impact it has on the client. But 2 is there might be a reading in the agreement based on what type of document you already have in place with them where it'll be a gray area. If you haven't clarified for sure that these things are billed or are not included, then it might be reasonable for them to think they were included. So you can lay the foundation. Hey, you get one more included, but beyond that, we're going to start charging and see how they respond. But without it in the agreement, it does become difficult to enforce. Do I need a separate contract for each added request my clients make? Do I need a separate contract for each added request my clients make? It depends on how your contracts are set up. There's two key ways to set up contracts. And it comes down, they're both great. They're both enforceable. They both why somebody might pick one over the other is how it is set up. Usually when they have more than one product that the same client might get. There's a way to streamline your contracts when you have the same clients who might be getting more than one thing from you, more than one project, more than one product or offering from you. You can streamline your contract so you don't have to do everything every time, but that doesn't mean all those terms don't need to be there. So there's just ways to simplify that. But for each added request, you definitely want to at least have a different invoice or PO so that there is a record of everything and that everything is tied back to the contract where you have that scope creep clause listed. You do want that for sure. Just make sure that there's a writing, something that they formally agreed to, like an email. Hey, this is what's included. This is the price. This is how it's going to be. Here's your scope creep clause and the acceptance clause on this. And then have an email saying, yes, we agree. You could probably get by with that as long as it's under the same original contract. But it always comes down to, does that original contract have everything you need? Yeah. What if I feel bad charging for small changes? What do you do when you feel bad charging your client for small changes and extras? I'm going to ask you a question. If they had told you up front they were going to need 4 revisions instead of 2, would you have allocated and budgeted, billed your time differently? I've noticed that when clients become emotionally involved in the relationship because they feel emotionally involved in the success of your clients. That's normal and it's human. But that doesn't mean that suddenly, because the client didn't get everything they needed, that the client didn't get everything that they purchased. Your time is your time. So if what would have been 10 hours of a project up front got billed at $2,000, and now it's going to take 20 hours, you're still like $2,000. Think of it as to when it would have happened, would it have changed anything? Because you're not wrong for wanting a value exchange for your time. You're not wrong for wanting a value exchange for your experience and your specialties and your deliverables and your products and your offerings. All of this matters. It's why they chose you. So feeling bad about it, that's not what's going on in the business side of this. That's what's going on inside of you. So decide how you want it to be in the value exchange for the business part, and then decide, okay, small changes, not a problem, but you only get so many, right? Still have that scope creep line for each and every single one of those small types of changes. This is how many you're going to get. And then here's the boundary if you go beyond it. That way you know where the boundary is. You're always welcome to give an exception to it, but you and your client have a boundary and you know how to succeed with it. Is it too late to introduce charging clients for things like scope creep mid-project? Okay, so you can't go back and unilaterally change the contract right now. You can formally change it with an amendment, but that's probably a little overkill for right now. So what I would do is 1, go update your templates so it never happens again. But 2, start to communicate the boundaries along the way and see if your communication can get them in alignment, right? That's one thing I've got in the playbook is what to do. I have this exact script, what to say if you didn't get it in your contract and you need this to happen. now? How do we start to nudge them in the right direction without it hurting, without it feeling like a wall, without it feeling like we're overcharging, without it feeling like we're nitpicking? I'm going to charge for every little thing. And you don't want to be that person. It's not what you're asking, it's how you ask it. So is it too late? No, but it does require you fill that gap of silence and clarity sooner rather than later, so that you're not just kind of smacking your clients in the face with it. All right, so that scope creep playbook is there again. It's got samples. It's got 12 full samples, service providers, coaches, consultants. What am I missing? Products, online services, and I think one other category. So I try to be pretty comprehensive. I've given real world examples of these, so you can copy paste them right into your client agreements. I've also shown you how to create a custom one for you. It takes 2 minutes. And like I said, you can have as many as you want or need. The playbook walks you through everything you need to know. It even gives you those scripts. All right, guys, we will continue our Aligned Business series this week.